for they are fellow disciples of Jesus and know they can now enjoy a more meaningful personal connection with me. And a very few are non-evangelicals who are genuinely intrigued by the notion of a seemingly intelligent person being a devoted follower of Christ, and they actually decide to continue the conversation. My seatmate apparently was one of the latter. My goal of finishing the book by touchdown faded, but God obviously had something in mind, and frankly, I was more than a bit curious to see what it was. Plunging in. We introduced ourselves. He was Bill from Las Vegas on a business trip related to his job with a major accounting firm. Bill had been employed there for nearly 4 years and was on the fast track to upper management. With the pleasantries out of the way, he plunged ahead. So you're like a Christian, huh? Yeah, my faith has become the focal point of my life. Hey, well, I'm a Christian too, Bill proclaimed, looking earnestly at me. I mean, I don't go to church and all, but I was raised as a Christian and went when I was a kid. But I don't really believe in God anymore. Given my deep personal conviction that God not only exists, but hears every word we say, my heart started racing at Bill's confession of unfaith. But because I oversee a ministry that interviews more than 10,000 people each year regarding faith matters, statements like Bill's are a dime a dozen. Consequently, they lose their shock value. So, while I felt an immediate twinge of despair for Bill, I recognized the importance of his admission and began to have a sense of what God's purpose for this conversation might be. Really? You don't believe in God? Why not? Well, he may exist, but I just think there's too much needless suffering and hardship in the world to buy into what my church taught me. You know, God being love and all that crap. It doesn't make sense, does it? Now, I love God with all my heart, mind, strength, and soul, but I shiver with fear and self-doubt when I enter such dialogues. Who am I to speak for the living God? What do I know about the totality of Scripture? Why should anyone give a toot in the wind about what I believe? What others and I really need is simply to think like Jesus, to see the world and its complexities and nuances from his point of view. Despite my insecurities, however, I usually bludgeon ahead, secure in the realization that the history of humanity conveys a pattern of one person affecting the life of another through relationship, communication, and love. Admittedly, though, it's at these moments when I suddenly rediscover the meaning of fervent prayer. And thank God that my eternal destiny is not dependent upon my ability to provide the perfect theological treatise. I respond to Bill's question quietly, not wanting to sound belligerent or arrogant. Actually, it makes a lot of sense to me. Just because some people prosper and others suffer doesn't negate the existence or character of God, I said. I added that suffering is sometimes a means to a better end, and that God uses it to draw people closer to Him or to give others who are more fortunate a chance to serve those in need. But this is interesting. So, if you don't believe in God, then how do you explain things like the existence of the universe? Bill nestled into his seat cushion and began to expand on how he views the world. I can buy the Big Bang Theory, but really it doesn't matter much. What matters is the here and now. Maybe there is a God out there, but he's not really part of my life. I have to take control of my life and steer it to the right place. Things are going well for me. I'm on that fast track program. He had briefly alluded to this during our introductions and was clearly proud of that status. And I'm getting my family life together. You're married? Was. Just got divorced 8 months ago after 5 years together. We have one daughter, so I stay in Vegas to be near her. It's all working out well. The frown on his face belied that assessment. I asked him if, without God, he thought there are moral absolutes, ways of distinguishing right from wrong. Of course, he guffawed, aghast that I might think he was a moral anarchist. You don't need God to know there have to be limits. I live a good moral life, and I teach those values to my daughter. But if there is no God, then what's the basis of right and wrong in your belief system, I asked, hoping he might begin to see the problem with his position. You just know what's right and wrong. I mean, you can feel it, right? You know from experience what works and what doesn't work, and you kind of build a mental catalog of do's and don'ts based on those experiences. And you see it played out in movies and on TV, where they pretty much contrast the different